Good evening. Welcome to Sunday Night Satsang with myself, John Homewood, and
Michelle. Hi there, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Hi. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for spending a little bit of your precious weekend time to be with us on a Sunday. And tonight we're going to be looking at the important subject of healing. So the focus of tonight's satsang will be on healing. And if you are new to this to the satsang, if you can just tell us who you are, where you're watching from. We love getting those so that we know who we're talking to. And if you like what we have to share, if you can just press the like and the share button. And if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. Press the subscribe and the bell button. And we love getting the hearts. So thank you for that as well. Thank you. Yeah, it's always nice to light a candle. We always light some incense and a candle. I've got a candle over there behind us. And if you have any sacred objects, we've got a beautiful crystal here. I've got a couple of crystals. Mm-hmm. That's a beautiful crystal there. Look at that. Hey? Yeah, we always have a couple of sacred items with us. So we make a little bit of a ritual of the satsang. It just helps center the mind. So let's start this evening by doing the most important work, if you want to call it work, of the satsang, and that is to be here now, fully here now. So you might like to gently close your eyes and just extract your attention from the day's events. Just withdraw your mind from all other times and all other places and be here now. It's such a beautiful statement that, and yet it's so profound in the benefits it brings to us. To withdraw our mind from the past and the future and to inhabit the only place that's truly real and experiential, and that is the present moment. So let's start as we always do by taking a very deep breath in. And the reason we do this is because the breath is always present. So by paying attention to the breath, we bring our awareness out of the matrix and back into reality. So take a very deep breath in, and as you breathe in from the lower diaphragm. So as you breathe in, you push your tummy out, and as you release that breath, you bring your tummy back to touch your spine. So you're really breathing from the deep lower regions of the lungs. Take another very deep breath in. You can imagine the air going right down to your toes and pulling it all the way down. And as you breathe out, just allow your shoulders to relax and your neck muscles to relax. Take a third very deep breath in, right down to the toes again, up to the top of the head. And when you can't feel your lungs anymore, release and just sink down deeper into the chair or bed or floor that you're sitting or lying on. And just become surrendered to just this moment, here and now. Completely surrendered. Surrender the breath to life and allow life to breathe you without doing any efforting. But keep your awareness focused on the breath. As I said, the breath is always present, so by bringing our awareness to align with the breath, we automatically bring ourselves into the magnificent sacredness of presence. Just become aware of what the body feels like this evening. Become aware of your feet, your hands, the chair or floor or bed that you're sitting or lying on. Become aware of the temperature of the room on your cheeks, and relax your jaw. Relax your tongue. Smooth any worry lines from your forehead. And just with every out-breath, allow yourself to sink deeper and deeper into your body and into the present moment. There is a power and a presence that animates our body, that beats our heart, that breathes us when we're not consciously doing the breathing. And this power and this presence transports the oxygenated blood from the lungs around the body to every single one of the billions of cells in the body, moment to moment, with no doing on our part. And in this meditation, we ask you to surrender to this power and to this presence that is beating your heart, that digests your food, that enables you in this moment to listen, to hear. This power and this presence allows us to have this physical experience. It allows us to walk and to talk and to see and to hold. Just for a moment, lean back into this power, into the present moment. Surrender your will completely to the will of life, which is always here and always now. And in this surrendered state, in this leaning back into alignment with life, we become more whole, more who we really are. Which is being. So in this moment, just become aware of the awareness that is listening to this voice, that is aware of the hands and the feet. This awareness is being. Not a being, but being itself. It has no form. It's awareness. And the journey to healing is really the surrendering to life as it presents itself in presence. Presence is whole, life is whole. And healing means to make whole, to return once more with our awareness to being. Be here now. This is a relaxed state. This is a surrendered state. It's not a manipulative state. It's not a reaching for anything state. It's a complete acceptance of the isness of life in this moment, here and now. And with every out-breath we can surrender a little bit more to life in this moment. This moment is complete and whole and perfect. It's very sacred and beautiful. Let's open our hearts to this beauty, to this sacredness, and quietly say a thank you to being here with us and with this wonderful group of people in this moment, here and now. Gratitude is a very high frequency for healing, very high vibration. And let's just say thank you to everyone who's in the satsang with us, for the community, for the caring, because there's a shared field, a shared field of love between us and around us. And in love we heal. And gratitude is the doorway into love. Take a very deep breath in now. Very, very deep conscious breath, drawing the air right the way down. And then that beautiful long surrendered breath out. And noticing the stillness and the quietness within you in this moment. And keeping that with you. You may gently, softly, when you're ready, open your eyes. And just see what the world looks like in the external environment with these softer eyes, with these more present eyes. Thank you for being with us tonight. Thank you all for joining us.
Thanks,
Thank
John.
you. Thank you.
Welcome, everybody. Those of you who joined us when John was taking us through the intro meditation. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about healing.
Yeah, Janet says she lost us. Can you hear us? Can you all hear us okay? Are we back online again? The signal does seem to be a bit weak. I know we had these solar flares a couple of days ago, and that seemed to have messed with the internet a little bit. So just let us know if you can all hear us okay. If you can see us and hear us, that's even better. Just let us know. And tonight we're talking about healing. So why do we choose that subject for tonight?
Well, mainly it's tied to the full moon, which was yesterday, which is a very healing full moon, and we've still got that energy playing out now, but obviously the full moon's over. Hi, Evie. But the other kind of part of the full moon this time around has been that Chiron, which is an asteroid, and it's known as the wounded healer, has actually come around and has met with what we call the north node of destiny, which is there's a north node, which is the node of destiny, and a south node, which is the karmic node. So when that happens, the last time it happened was 2008, and when that happens, there's an opportunity to really start to heal old ancestral patterns that we might not even be aware of. So, there can be those coming up at this time, but it's definitely a healing portal. That's what I was describing in my message. So we just thought it would be a nice one to look at what healing is, and to see, because it's not just right now, it's for the next couple of weeks that's going to be in play.
Yeah. So in 2008, what happened worldwide in 2008, but the financial crash that happened there, and that can be seen as wrong, but it was also a great healing, it was a great reset. There was such an artificial bubble created in the world that had to be reset at that time. So that it was definitely a time of healing, 2008, and a lot of people's lives were changed at that time. And so, was anything else to add from that?
No, I think that's it. I think it's got huge potential, because it's not just on the human level; it's actually on the soul level, because it's linked to this very important axis, and it doesn't happen every day. So that's what we can pay attention to. And the two of them are sitting at 16 degrees of Aries. And that's really about self-worth and taking back our power as unique human beings, and actually stepping into our real power beyond the human as well. So I think that's also quite valid to mention.
Yeah. And it's good to live your life aligned with the flows and energies of life, because all of this world is created out of energy. And sometimes we try and swim upstream, and that creates much stress in our lives, and it's better to rather go with the flow. And at the moment, the flow is healing. So let's look at healing and what healing means. And I know all of us have an interpretation of what that word means, and it obviously plays out in lives in different ways. But tonight we're going to look at possibly the 4 levels of healing, and to see how they relate to us in our own lives. The first level of healing, and as I said in the opening meditation, the word heal means to make whole again, to make complete, to come back to love. That's really what it means. And the first level of healing, let's look at, is physical.
Excuse me, I had to sneeze. Yes, physical. I think that's what people think of when a lot of people think of physical healing when they think of healing. So I was sick and now I'm healed, because there's no sign of the apparent sickness.
Yeah.
So that's that's usually seen as the healing.
Yeah, it is.
But I think it's much, much deeper than that.
Well, I mean, the physical body is the vehicle that we move through this world and have the human experience in, and it's very important to keep that vehicle in a healthy state as possible. But that isn't the major healing that needs to happen. I believe that healing needs to happen from the inside, more importantly than the outside. Not that the outside isn't important, but I believe that dis-ease happens by being dis-ease. In other words, we are not at peace. We're not at stillness. We're not at ease. And so the more we remove ourselves from ease, the more dis-ease we become. And that plays out definitely in the physical world. It plays out in the other levels of healing that we're going to look at tonight.
Well, it has to, doesn't it? Because it's inextricably linked.
They are all linked.
You can't tear them apart and
No,
say, well, the human, the physical healing's done when the emotional healing is not, and all the other levels are still.
Yeah.
Counting.
So the basic healing level is the physical. We'll look at that, and then we'll move to the next level of healing, which is really mind. And mind encompasses so many aspects of mind, and one of the aspects of mind is obviously emotions, feelings. That's very important. And then above mind we come to the next level, which we'll talk briefly about, and that's a soul healing. And that's possibly the real reason we come to earth. That's the real healing that needs to take place in our lives, is at the soul body level. And above that we have spirit, which we'll come to in a moment. But let's talk about physical healing first of all. So if healing is to come back to wholeness, well, another word for wholeness is balance. So if you'd like to look at your life and see which from a physical point of view, purely physical point of view, which aspect of your physical life is out of balance, and it can relate to your diet, can relate to your physical exercise that you have, but it can also relate to how much time you spend in certain physical activities. For example, work. Is there too much work and not enough play? I mean, that's another aspect of bringing balance back to the physical realm.
Are you getting enough sleep? Are you eating the right foods for you? So I think this is the month to actually deal with this now that we're in, especially with this full moon. So what can you release? What patterns physically can you let go of? So if you're drinking too much coffee, or you not exercising enough, or if you're not sleeping enough, and you're going to bed too late, and you're not getting 8 hours, how's that impacting on you? How do you feel in the morning when you haven't had enough sleep? So those physical things have to be taken care of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure those of you on this group are well advanced in what is right and wrong from a physical point of view. And it's now not so much a time of learning more information, although there's always more to learn, but it's a case of application. To eat clean, good, organic food, for example, to drink clean water. Today we had a lovely excursion on our farm, and we went to a neighbouring farm, and we found a lovely huge spring of lovely fresh water coming straight out the hillside, and that was such a joy, because to drink water that's been processed through pumps and through filters is not as healthy as drinking pure water out of a spring. So it's to be aware of that if you can, just alter your life so that you can participate, because water is such an important part of the body, isn't it?
It's a huge part of it, and it's got an intelligence. So are we eating live water, or are we eating deadened water that's been filtered and filtered and filtered and treated and treated and treated?
Yeah, and all the minerals from
So those things need to be looked at. And I just feel that with all this, all the shifting, the energetic shifting on our planet, and the raising of frequency, many of us are becoming more and more sensitive to eating the wrong foods. So where you might have been able to drink alcohol, or you might have been able to eat a lot of bread, for example, not that there's anything wrong with that, you might find yourself suddenly not actually being able to, that your body goes into a reaction, or you become much more sensitive to it. And I'm finding that that's happening a lot with most people I know. Is they suddenly just can't do that. They can't drink what they used to drink, or they can't eat what they used to eat. So I think it's just being aware of what does it feel like when you eat that food. Is that food Do you feel good afterwards, or do you feel not good? And it's just to listen to each individual person, because all of us are different. So to listen to your own body, to become more and more aware of what your own body is saying to you about food.
Yeah, I think that's really important. It's really important to listen. And in order to listen, we have to become quiet. How much of your day do you spend listening, and how much of your day do you spend talking? And in listening is to be completely empty to presence in this moment, and to listen to what life is telling us in this moment. And 25 years ago, maybe even more, I was diagnosed with arthritis, and they wanted to fuse my spine and all sorts of things and put me on chronic medication for the rest of my life, and they said there's no cure for this. And for me it was a huge shift, because I didn't want to have an operation. And I started making changes in my life, and the biggest change was listening to my body and becoming very sensitive about what the body was telling me. So to clear out the foods that the body says it doesn't want, and you can pick it up very quickly what the body doesn't want, and to also clear away other things around us. For example, there was a career that had to be changed and things like that. So it's important to listen to what your body is telling you in this moment, and to make those shifts, because our bodies are becoming far more sensitive with the change in frequency. What you used to be able to have, for example, let's talk about alcohol. The body used to be able to process alcohol, all right, in the past, but now, because your body is shifting, alcohol is obviously, if you want to preserve something, you would put it in alcohol. It does that. Yes, it does that. But what does it do to your consciousness? It actually makes you go duller. It doesn't sharpen your consciousness, it dulls you. And so that's something maybe you might have to eliminate. And the other thing is that over the last 10 years or so, there's been an increase in the number of toxicities that have been added, or toxins that have been added to food. So you might have been able to eat whatever before. Let's take wheat, for example. People think they're gluten intolerant. Meanwhile, it's glyphosate intolerance, because 10 years ago, glyphosate wasn't sprayed on every crop. Now, basically, it is on oats, on barley, and things like that. So it's just to listen to your body. Can you eat this, or can't you eat this? And then to make those decisions.
Really to listen to it, because I also have had a sort of a chronic thing for a long, long time. And at one stage, it had a name. And I kind of got very concerned about that name that it had, because it was incurable, and therefore I just had to give into it and label myself as somebody with that particular dis-ease. And I found that the more I did that, the worse it got, because it was growing in its intensity. And when I dropped the label largely, and just focused on what I needed to actually heal, and how I could actually heal through, reducing stress, bettering my sleep, watching what I ate, being very sensitive to what I was putting into my body, that was where a lot of healing came from, as opposed to reading millions of articles that all told me that it was incurable and that I should be labeled that. So I think it's just something else that we need to be aware of, is that you can over-research things. And there's so many different ways around things, and a lot of these things people guess. They don't even know exactly what the issue is and how to heal it. But your own body knows, and that's it's a huge thing. And the body just wants to be loved. The body wants to be nurtured and loved and taken care of. Years ago, I went to a beautiful evening with Tony Childs. Do you remember Tony Childs? She was that pop star back in the 70s, I think. Yeah. And she came to a friend of mine's yoga studio, and she did the most beautiful evening with us. And she's been on a huge journey of healing. I'm sure you can look that up. Her music's really beautiful now. And she told us that she had been diagnosed with an illness, and she had gone away, and a lot of her healing was actually sitting in the rock pools where she was visiting, and just going through her body and saying to each part of her body how much she loved that part of her body. So she would look at her hand and she'd say, hand, I really, really love you. Leg, I really, really love you. Toe, I really, really love you. And she healed. from the seemingly, supposedly incurable issue that she had. And she then went round to all of us and sang this beautiful song telling us how each of us were so beautiful and we were so loved. And so I think that's a huge component of healing that we miss, because when we get diagnosed with something, we often get very angry with the body. Why is this body not doing what it's supposed to do? Why have I got pain when I shouldn't have pain? And then we go into resistance to the body, and that does not aid in healing. It does the opposite. Because you're in resistance.
That's right, loving the body, loving the food that we eat, adding that energy to blessing the food is really important. I mean, that's one thing that we were all taught as children, is to say grace, and it's really important to bring that back. Say the grace, send to yourselves, bring yourself into alignment with the highest vibration before you put the food in the body. Make it a sacred ritual, eating, instead of just something to do to keep you alive. Make it a sacred ritual.
Sit down and eat.
Yeah,
is another one.
That's right.
I think one of the things we do, we're rushing and we stand up and quickly gulp something down at lunchtime. I think it really changes when you sit down and you eat a meal.
Yeah.
And in the evening, to sit down and actually have a meal together without phones and without TVs.
Yeah.
Those things are all instrumental, aren't they?
They are.
In wholeness and healing.
Yes. Very important. A lot of the dis-ease that we have in our bodies at the moment is caused by inflammation, and by slowing down and being centered, we lower inflammation. And just as a little aside there, one of the things that I learned in the last 4 years, was one of the major causes of inflammation, which people don't realize, I didn't know, even after doing all the research that I did do, was that, for example, something simple like omega-6 creates major inflammation in the body. And that's in seeds, for example. Sunflower seeds have the highest in sunflower oil, sunflower seeds. And just because it's organic and it seems okay, it might not be. And I had to listen to my body. Yeah. And that's, I was eating too many sunflower seeds, and it created major inflammation in my knees, for example. And just being in tune with the body, listening to the body, and saying, there's a problem, and then you find the answers come to you. Linoleic acid is what gets created by omega-6s, and we're not designed to eat many seeds, for example. So these are all things we learn along the way.
And grounding for information.
Yeah, grounding. We're getting your feet
earthing.
in earthing,
call it earthing
energy.
Or grounding.
Yeah.
So being sure to put your feet on the earth every day actually reduces inflammation. It sounds very simple, but that's what it does.
Yeah.
That's why we always feel better when we come out of the nature, or when we've been in nature for a while.
Being in nature, taking the body into nature, taking the body into water is another very good one of doing that. Yeah.
And it reduces stress, and stress is one of the biggest components for any dis-ease.
Yeah.
So.
And then the next level above the physical is mind. And you can be doing everything right with the physical world. You can be eating the best food and all organic and doing everything. But if your mind isn't in balance, then your body's going to be out of balance. The mind is way more important than the physical body in determining our overall health. And yet that's not taken into account in the medical paradigm. The mind is really, really important. So it's to look at the blockages to balance in the mind. Which aspects of your thoughts are based in time, past and future? How much time do you spend in past and future? And are you carrying a burden of negative patterns, old patterns that are not relevant to the actual situation here and now, but are carryovers from yesterday or projections into the future? And to dissolve those patterns. And how do we do that? Well, you join our 13-week online course, Journey to Freedom, which is actually Journey to Healing, isn't it? It's a case of looking deeply at those patterns and dissolving them, not trying to understand them. Understanding doesn't necessarily bring freedom from the mind, but being present does. Surrendering to the isness of the moment. Being connected to nature, there's another one. As you connect more with nature, when you're in nature, you're more present automatically. When you're in a man-made environment, there's thoughts that get generated by what you're experiencing around you. But when we go into nature, because of the unpredictability of what we see in nature, there's a surrender. And we go into that state of balance far easier when we're in nature than when we're in a man-made environment. So to ease the mind and to bring yourself back to balance, spend more time with nature.
Definitely. And also just remembering that nature has an energy. Nature is not an inanimate object. Nature, trees give out energy, plants give out energy, rivers, water, natural sunshine gives out energy. So when we're immersed in nature, we're breathing in that pranic energy. So it's naturally healing us, and we're actually reharmonizing with our true vibration when we're in nature, because we're actually balancing into the real kind of heartbeat of Mother Earth, which is linked to ours. So the more time that we can spend just walking or sitting or just being in nature, even for 5 minutes, even just looking at a pot plant helps, because it's alive. So I think that it's hugely healing. I know so many people who have healed just from that.
Yeah.
Just spending time, going away, dropping the digital stuff, getting rid of a bit of stress, and walking and spending time in nature. And of course it clears the mind as well. So also just on the mind thing, the mind's so busy, and most of the time it's in the past or in the future. So just something to ask yourself, how much time am I spending in the past, and how much time am I spending in the future, and how much time am I spending now here?
Yeah.
Because to heal, we need to be present. If we in the past or the future, we're not going to heal in those spaces, because it's usually in a resistant state. And the present, you can be in an accepting state, which is a healing state, which is an open state.
Yeah. Because the greatest healer is life itself. What animates every cell in our body is life. And life, here's a big secret, life is only ever now. Yeah. With every thought we think, we separate ourselves from presence, because a thought appears in time, and time is always out of presence. So every thought we think, we are removing ourselves from alignment with life, one with life. That's an acronym, OWL.
Yeah,
OWL, one with life. Mm-hmm. And the more we align with life, the more we bring the body into balance. Mm-hmm. We bring the mind into balance. And the more we align ourselves with balance, the more homeostasis comes into the body, the mind and the body, and we balance the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. We balance the hormonal system in the body, and that happens when we are present. So that's the most important, is to have some sort of daily ongoing practice to bring you back into presence. And being in nature is superb in clearing the mind, because and that's our job to healing, is not to understand, but to clear the mind.
And obviously meditation, obviously. Yeah. It goes without saying that helps to.
The word meditation comes from the meaning, it means no mind. No mind. So meditation can be formal meditation, can be just drinking a cup of tea, for example, herbal tea hopefully, just bringing consciousness to whatever we are busy with, and being quiet inside, quietening the inner world, quietening the voice, and just being here now. That's meditation, and that's so good for healing. I mean, it's absolutely primary for healing.
Yeah, and then there's emotional,
Emotional healing, and to balance our emotions. It's not that we suppress emotions. You feel them, but you watch the mind's propensity for attaching a story to negative feelings. That's what the mind does. And then you loop back out of the present moment, and you go back into the past. I'm feeling this way because of what my mother said to me when I was 10 years old, or because of that divorce, or because of whatever, what my neighbor said to me, what the boss said to me. And we leave presence. So once more, we go away from ease into dis-ease with every thought. So it's to come back into balance. When we are in presence, the emotions become balanced. That's the important part of it, to balance the emotional body. So we have the physical body, the mental body, and the emotional body, and they all come into balance when we reconnect to life in the present moment, in the here and now. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to focus on the breath and the breathing, which we always start the meditation with at the beginning of these satsangs. Eckhart Tolle says it only takes one conscious breath to come back into alignment with life. One breath taken with full awareness.
But also just on the emotional side, that a lot of people not quite sure what to do with the emotions. So they outsource them, they get rid of them, they project them. And so it's to learn, we're learning how to feel the feelings, but not attach a story to them. And that's a process of, you learn how to do that, but it's a process of being open to whatever the feeling is. So not judging it. There's sadness coming in. Oh, that's interesting. I've noticed that I'm sad. So I'm bringing awareness to the sadness. But I'm not attaching the sadness to this person who made me sad, or that situation when I was 6 that made me sad. Or I'm anxious. I'm not attaching my story to the future. It's just, oh, this is what anxiety feels like. Can I be present for the anxiety? Because what we are always wanting is somebody to be present for us. That's most of us, that's all we want, is somebody to just be able to be here for you when you're going through something difficult. Not to try and fix it, not to try and work out how to get rid of it, but to actually just be present with you. So if we can be present for ourselves and our own feelings and process them by simply being present and just allowing it to be there and then bringing yourself back. So it's a process, but I believe that that's one of the main processes that is happening now.
Yeah,
is that we're becoming more aware of that and how we exile our emotions.
Yeah.
So we have a feeling and we get busy with something. We reach for the phone, we reach for something to eat, to
or
drink,
a thought pattern,
a story, but anything rather than feel the feeling.
Yeah. And while we're feeling the feeling, it's, as you're saying, awareness is the greatest agent for healing, awareness. And it's to be aware if you're feeling some sort of negative or uncomfortable feeling, just become aware of any thought patterns that are attached to that feeling. Just be aware of that. Not trying to understand where it comes from, but just being aware of that. Oh, yeah, I was actually thinking those old patterns, those old thoughts. And you might even it's helpful to get a piece of paper and a pen and write them down. When I was feeling sad, because these are the old thoughts that were coming up. And then we realize, because with awareness comes power. And then we can choose, when we feel those feelings, to let go of those old thought patterns.
Yeah, in the moment.
Plaguing us, because
as we bring awareness to it, you can just choose in that moment.
In that moment, we release it. Yeah. And then that leads us to the third level of healing, which is soul level. And that is the reason, as I said earlier, why we come to Earth. And when we come to this planet, we bring in old thought patterns and old emotional patterns that we haven't dissolved, we haven't brought to balance. You see, balance is love. Balance is always in the present moment. And anything that takes us out of that ripples into time and space and builds up something called karma. And those that are not resolved and dissolved through the power of presence have to be played out in the physical plane. So we come to this planet carrying certain aspects of imbalance in the karmic field. And these play out in the physical body, they play out in the emotional body and the mental body. And our work is to, at this time, particularly at this time, is not to perpetuate those karmic patterns, but to come into the center point of presence. And in that center point, we dissolve karma, not by balancing it by a doingness, but we dissolve it through the power of beingness. And beingness is to hold that space, what Michelle was talking about earlier, of presence. When we hold the space, we are in a state of being. And it's in being that we dissolve lifetimes of karmic disruptions, karmic imbalances. And that's the real soul work we have come to this planet for. And now is the time to do that, to hold the space for what is occurring to be. If there's some physical action that needs to be taken, that's fine, take the action. But always recognize that that action is secondary to being. Being is primary, Action is secondary. Coming back to balance, coming back to love. And that, the root of all healing is love.
Yeah, and I think just to end off, I think also just that forgiveness is part of that.
Yeah.
So forgiveness is one of the greatest healing things we can do, because as long as you're holding on to something from the past, you're filled with resentment, and that's not going to make you better on any level. So it's to be open to letting it go, and that's a choice. You can be open to letting it go. What if I were able to just let this go? The resentment I have for my ex-partner, or that hideous boss, or that really bad parent, or whatever it is, what would happen if I just let it go?
Yeah.
In this moment, not tomorrow. And the mind will come up with all sorts of reasons why you can't do that, and it'll take you another 10 years. But what if you could just drop it? Like you would a hot coal if it was burning your hand. That's the healing, and that's the karmic healing. It's just the awareness and the openness to releasing it. And in that action, you're actually, in that awareness, you're actually letting it go. You don't have to do anything more.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm letting this go now.
Yeah.
In this moment, I'm letting it go.
Yeah.
And if it should arise again, I'm going to let it go again. So I think that's just another.
Yeah, forgiveness is the most powerful transformatory tool we could ever work with. And on our 13-week journey to freedom course, we spent a whole 7 days just on forgiveness. And we only do it at the end of the course, because there's a lot of work maybe that we need to do before we actually in a state where we are willing to surrender, where we're willing to give up the past, where we're willing to give up our pain and our suffering and be at peace. But forgiveness is really important. The Course in Miracles says forgiveness to reach the point of understanding that in truth there is nothing to forgive. And to see the perfection in each and every event that's ever happened to us. That's beautiful. That's so powerful on the road to healing. And the fourth layer of healing is spirit. And that's where something called grace comes in. So grace is the active part of presence, and it can't be invoked. It can't be earned. It happens all by itself through the portal of presence. So the more present we are, the more we're inviting spirit to come in and do the transformation process. But healing is not, and I really want to emphasize this, healing is not primary about the body. It's about the soul, to realize that. And the body, quite often the ailments in the body are actually gifts from the universe, from the divine, to help us heal the soul, to bring us to the point of surrender, of forgiveness. That's quite often. So what is the point in getting rid of the physical ailment when it is actually leading us to the transformation that we need to make in our lives? And to realize, for example, to the mind, death is the ultimate failure. That's what the mind thinks. And yet death is the opposite of birth. So where you have birth, you have death. That which is not born never dies. But this physical body is born, therefore will die. And so death is not a failure. It's actually part of life. It's part of the transformation of life. So do not treat death as a failure. We all on a journey towards this physical dissolvement of the physical body. That's inevitable. And it may happen tonight, it may happen tomorrow, it may happen 10 years' time and 20 years' time. But it is there for us. Death is not a failure. It is a process of further transformation. So our journey into healing is not an avoidance of death. No matter what journey you're on, do not avoid death. Death is something to be celebrated exactly the same way that birth is celebrated, because that's exactly what death is. It's a birth into another dimension of experience, not a failure at all. And if you know someone with a terminal disease around you who's busy dying, don't see that as a failure. Don't see their passing as a failure. It's not. It could be the ultimate healing process that they need to go through for their soul's cleansing.
Yeah, and don't see illness full stop as a failure, or dis-ease.
No,
so
it's not.
if you have physical ailments, you haven't failed. There's nothing wrong with you. That's just part of your journey this time round, and that's part of the acceptance of it. Because a lot of anger's tied up with that, and then resentment and self-hatred, and why am I sick when I should be better, and I've done all the healing, and it's not about that. It's a much more complex journey than just physical.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you want any guidance, if you're particularly stuck in one of these 4 layers that we've spoken about, 3 layers that we've spoken about tonight, you're welcome to contact us for consultation. Michelle can definitely help you with seeing the bigger aspects of the astrology that you are dealing with in this lifetime. And a consultation with me will help you see through some of the blockages that are holding you back from the true essence of joy that is your birthright in this life. Joy and abundance. Yeah.
So you can get hold of us through our contacts.
Yep.
John's available for sessions, as am I.
Yeah.
And we have got our inner space group still. We're busy in a journey to freedom, so that's not open at the moment, but we'll do another one mid-year, I think.
Yeah, probably mid-year, another one. We'll start another one there.
Yeah.
So you've got
Do you want to pick a card tonight?
Do you want me to pick a card? Okay, well then I pick a card by shuffling it. We've got all these cards here. Normally one drops out. We'll see if it does, otherwise you're going to choose. No, nothing's coming out tonight. Shall I just choose one? I don't like to just choose. I usually let the universe choose one for me, but nothing's dropping out. Okay, so you fan them out there and I'll just choose one. Okay.
There we go.
That's the one for tonight.
There we go. That's
Very
a
powerful.
pretty good one.
Very powerful. Probably the most powerful statement we can ever make is that card there. I'm not going to show you what's on the other side yet. Okay.
Okay.
You're going to take us into a centering, balancing, healing little meditation. Thank you.
So just resting in your seat. Making yourself even more comfortable than you have been. Softening your body. Taking a big, beautiful breath in. All the way in. Blowing. Expanding your tummy and all the way up, and then let it go. Let it all go. Another deep breath in. And then a beautiful releasing breath out. Just feel the stress or the tightness just melt off your body. Allow a wave of beautiful healing light to come in through the top of your head. Pick a color which really you're drawn to, and allow this light to come in through your whole body, and as it moves through your body, allow your body to open more to it, to allow the flow of life to move through you, and to wash out anything that you don't need through the feet, through the bottom of the feet. So imagine this beautiful healing light. Let's make it a liquid light. And it's washing through everything, every part of your body, the muscles, the tissues, the blood, the bones, everything. It's also washing the emotional body, the mental body, everything. It's washing it all. And this beautiful liquid light moves all the way through, and consciously release whatever is no longer needed through your feet into the earth. Whatever emotional patterns, reactive patterns, whatever resentment from the past, whatever anxieties for the future, whatever you might be holding that isn't serving you. What if you could just let it go now? Just drop it. Let it go. Allow it to slide off your body and to dissolve. Imagine that as you release whatever's no longer needed, you have this beautiful channel that forms through you, that opens you up to more healing, to more light, to more love, to more flow, to more presence. Unhindered by any blockages. You've just got this beautiful light flowing through you and radiating out of you. Allow this to wash through you and shine through you. And tonight's affirmation is, my point of power is in the present moment. Really feel into the power of those words. My point of power is in the present moment. And feel yourself aligned when you're in the present moment with the energy of grace, with the energy of healing, with the energy of love. Which flows easily through you and then naturally radiates out of you into your community and into the world, into the field. So breathing in those words, my point of power is in the present moment. Thank you. I'm just staying here for a few more moments in this quiet, beautiful place of presence. This place of balance, this place of healing. Now taking a deep breath in and a releasing breath out. And when you're ready, you can gently start to open your eyes.
Thank you. Wasn't that lovely?
Thanks.
Isn't that lovely? I absolutely guarantee you that you're in a greater state of balance and healing right now than perhaps an hour ago. So that's a lovely affirmation. My point of power is in the present moment. I'm going to photograph it and just put it on the Facebook page below. And affirmations are statements that we make, and they really do change the energy field within the mind. My point of power is in the present moment. And just be aware of the affirmations that you say during the day that reflect a negative state of mind. For example, I am sick and tired. The I am is the name of the divine, and whatever we put after that, we create. So if you say, I'm sick and tired, guess what you're creating? Or if you identify with a particular illness, you were mentioning earlier about the attaching who you are to a particular label. I'm a this sufferer, or I'm a that sufferer, or I've been diagnosed with that. Let it all go. I am healed is such a powerful, powerful affirmation as well. I am healed, or I am whole, or I am present. So my point of power is in the present moment. That's where we can make these changes. Love you all. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Everyone.
Have a blessed week further. Love you all. Night to night.